1. Take it away, guys.
Bears on the moon, perhaps for the final time. The Legion, of course, have also found their way to the moon. In case anyone won, the classical Roman Legion versus Bears on the moon. Michael Bay, coming to movie theater 2021.
Yeah, Grizzlies really living up to their name. The big tanky bodies, of course. They're going to go with the quad tank here. But Zapri is the first one to get shelled down. Blase with the damage-boosted grenades. It's going to take him out easily. Grace will need to be there with the defense matrix, try and shut that down.
And this is problematic for the Grizzlies. I mean, ideally, they would like to take the first fight. If they have to rely on, say, Spirit using a Graviton Surge to break things through, it's not really great. Blase getting focused on pretty heavily here in the top, but he has support in the back. Meanwhile, Corey's working from the other side. And when you've already lost your Diva mech, this leaves open a lot of room for the Legion to just dive in on the remaining shell, which is not super intimidating.
Yeah, so there is a disconnect between the Grizzlies. Spirit was caught out in the right side mini room. Graceful tries to go in to save him as he was getting hunted down by both Blase and Gods, but in doing so, he basically just got baited into staggering himself. Now, Grizzlies, they have regrouped for the most part. They are back onto the point.
Well, they loop around the other side. They got Panker off the flank. It was unaccounted for. Meanwhile, Blase going big or going home, diving on into the clump of people on his lonesome, but got out to tell the tale. And now, guess what? Here comes the tire, moving around the other side. This is one way of clearing out a point. Looking for the Moira, the engine in the back, and gets the hunt instead. That might be good enough. The Legion able to move on in. Rolf gonna use the Transcend to make it easier for them as they cut this to ribbons, but they lose the second tick, even if this fight is a success.
Yeah, that timing for the recontest was so good until they all jumped off there, gave away the second tick. Now, the Earth Shattered was used by Pac, but there was no follow-up whatsoever. It was Legion coming in with the recontest, able to clean them up. Luckily for the Grizzlies, though, they were able to secure the 2 ticks. Spirit, he's gonna have, of course, that Graviton up, and we'll see how indecisive. Last time, he was having a difficult time just trying to pull the trigger on that.
Well, yeah, and I mean, here's the thing. Name a more tense duo for the Grizzlies than Spirit and Gravitons. I'll wait.
And so, the Grizzlies, they are regrouping as a full man. They do have Graceful. He does have the self-destruct, so they could try and go for that bigger bomb play. It is difficult to run into, but Cordy already starts it off. The Hun is gone.
The Hun's gone, and now, okay, you want to add to this decision tree going in for the Grizzlies. Do you move in and try and make this happen? If you do you use the Graviton? If they do decide to go onto the points, the Legion, they're going to have to keep this in contest. They are on the other side. Blase is coming in off the flank. And now, again, for Spirit, do you drop the Graviton here? It's problematic, and, well, you don't do it when you're dead. Blase off the tire, takes down 2, and the Grizzlies go back to spawn.
And this is the same problem we saw coming out from the Grizzlies last time they had Spirit here on the Zarya. He just doesn't have the opportunities or doesn't see the opportunities to pull the trigger on that Graviton. So now we're down to a minute left with the Grizzlies. They still haven't used it, and Spirit's just sitting on it. Now, Grizzlies, they have to hope that they can actually get into the point clean. On that last approach, it was actually the Hun who got caught out by Corey.
He was, and again, this is where if you're a Grizzlies fan, it's like, okay, Graviton Surge, Spirit. This has not been the most reliable setup for them. I don't think Zarya is normally Spirit's forte, but their odds of winning this fight are much higher if they land a good Graviton. You're gonna see them move up this upper right side. Again, the person to watch here is Spirit as he looks to land this Graviton. Corey's poking down all the while. Now you see Spirit on the ground, waiting for it. Doesn't want to throw it into Gods' waiting maw here. Gods is just waiting to devour it, and you see the indecision in Spirit right now. Everyone's going to the point, drops the grab, and it connects. Here comes Zapri, whole hog into the Graviton, the combo they were waiting for. They only get Gods, and here comes the tire, going back the other way, gets both supports. Blase keeps this an open question for the Legion, but they're still getting pushed off the point.
Yeah, they were able to pick up 2 more after that. Panker and Blase they are ticking away, but there it is. Zapri comes in with the hook. God's gonna go ahead and get Rez back up. Never mind, it's Panker that gets Rez back into this. And so Panker, as soon as he's back, he's able to take out Zapri, but he will fall once again. They're still contesting it. Pook's trying his best, but there are 4 members there. He will not be able to hold on. It's gonna be the Grizzlies pushing on to point B with 4 minutes.
Oh my word, close fight, but it's the Grizzlies who stand on their hind legs in triumph at the end. And now, no chill whatsoever, just going directly on to the next point. But they lost gracefully, so got focused down early on. 6-on-5 advantage for the Legion. And we saw this before from Spirit, where his follow-through after point A and Zarya actually quite good. Already has another Graviton Surge ready. The problem is that you've lost Blam, you no longer have anyone to heal these tanks, you gotta reset.
Still, he is in a power position, especially with Zapri coming in. He had swap off onto the Widowmaker, and he was able to get the pick onto Blase, but they waited too long. He will he will respawn back into this now. Zapri coming into the left-hand side. This is a tricky position to try and play as this Widow right now because Corey is just waiting on the opposite side of that wall.
Grizzlies, they would love to get an early pick off to make this easier. They do have tank ults in spades moving into this fight. Graviton out from Spirit, and not quite sure if it connected on anything. It does get several in the back, but you had Wolf there with the Transcendence, able to just keep them alive during it. And I think after this push, we'll probably see Spirit swap as this goes fully in the Legion's way.
Yeah, Spirit will get cleaned up there. No progress made whatsoever for the Grizzlies onto point B. And so it is the dive. Hag is now swapped over to the Winston. We'll see what Spirit goes to. It is going to be the Tracer for them. Interesting that they decide to go in for that. Instead of the Genji, maybe he's not feeling it as much. Zapri, though, once again, Corey is right on top of him, takes him out. Even a stagger onto Graceful.
Well, that's what you want from a Tracer in this situation, right?
Yeah,
you want Tracer to go back and get an early pick off and then delay everyone. It's risky, though, because sometimes it goes the other way.
Never mind. I thought Spirit was actually going to swap off. It looks like Zapri made the call that he's going to be staying on the Widowmaker here. He's 75% towards that infra site now. Spirit not ready to take that 1v1 against Corey. Here comes a Riptide from Blase over the top.
Nope, not going to connect. Zapri with the Widow in the back, able to deal with that. And the Grizzlies, now you know there's no tire. Maybe be a little bit more aggressive, but they're fairly slow to take advantage here in the beginning. Legion able to rotate to deal with the dive that's coming. They drop the barrier from Dahan. Barrier in, can they get even a single kill to deal with this? Not so much. They're focusing heavily on Gods, but look at that. God's able to get away. Pooks is there for support. Gods will be back in the fight, and now he focuses on Panker, but guess what? He has Rage. Uses Primal Rage, and the tank focus was there from the Grizzlies, but it was never decisive enough, and the Legion able to maintain their form here. This is going to be a one-team fight.
There was just too much focus onto Gods. We saw during Blam's Coalescence, most of it was being used on that mech. God still got out alive, and most fortunately enough, because he still had his mech, even though we had, I believe, yeah, Spirit go into the back line, try to get on top of Rolf. The defense matrix was there to keep Rolf alive also, so now it's going to be swaps. It's Spirit going over to Genji, more true to his form, while Zapri goes over to the Tracer. Much more comfortable, but this is not a comfortable position at all, as the Riptire is out and Zapri's already gone.
Yeah, and it's difficult to command that because you don't know if the Tracer's going to recall out, but you get Zapri early on, and now even more so, you see Blase adding on more ult charge, got Graceful towards the very end, and the Grizzlies, they just have to back out. They get one more good attempt at this, 40 seconds left remaining.
They don't have much behind it either. Pag might be able to get his Primal Rage, but that's only going to be useful to try and stall this out. As Legion, they're in a much better spot right now. Rolfie has a Transcendence. Corey, of course, can just shut down the push with his Pulse Bomb, and Pooks is getting closer to that Valkyrie.
The problem for the Grizzlies, they don't have anything really used here aside from just raw mechanics, which sometimes has been good enough. The Legion, though, they know that. They open up the really Transcendence. Panker and Corey open up. 3 already down from the Grizzlies. And Zapper, you've been a hero before, but this would be next level if you somehow brought this back from the Abyss. You were down 4 teammates. You're trying to make something happen. And hey, sometimes let it go with the bomb. Self-destruct can be on the point from Graceful. He's likely not going to be able to remech. He does not. Overtime ticks down, and the Legion successfully hold off the Bears at the very end.
Yep, no progress whatsoever for Grizzlies onto point B. And so now that just means that if the Gladiators want to take the lead in the series, they just need to get 1 tick onto B.
Not a hard task overall, although the Legion, even for their first point attacks on Horizon, it's been sort of mixed. I remember in the very beginning, Contenders, they'd try and come out with Reinhardt setups that weren't necessarily great. They've been hit and miss with putting Blase on the Sombra, but they've sort of gone away from that, right? Where they're at the very least, they're not going to be doing a Reinhardt setup. They're going to stick with what they normally would like to go with. You're going to be seeing Blase come around the flank in all likelihood. And all they need to do is just get 1 early kill and just snowball it in their favor. And oftentimes they can be very aggressive on these dive-ins. They don't usually wait too long.
Yeah, I mean, what they can really just do is send both Corey and Blase onto the point. When Spirit comes in, try and contest for that TVT, Blase will be lying in wait, get the individual hack off, and that is the pick. Now we'll see if Grizzlies stick with this composition. They're going to go ahead and run the Orisa Hog. Gladiators Legion, on their defense, they ran the Orisa Diva, which is what? A lot more defensive. Grizzlies want to go for the pick, so I think that's signaling that Graceful is the one that might be the one to contest the point once the flankers from the Legion get on there.
The only issue the Grizzlies are going to have here in particular is that you're running the Widow on defense with the Hog. You're investing very heavily in pickoffs versus holding the point. If Zapri does not at least wound a tank heavily on the way in, it's going to be very difficult for the Grizzlies to actually turn that into a winning fight. So Zapri, even if he doesn't get a pick off at the beginning, he needs to at least land a headshot or serious damage onto Panker as he moves in. Otherwise, the odds of them just getting overwhelmed, where the Widow is in a position where she can't do much, is actually rather high.
Now, Graceful has swapped off. He's going to go over to D.Va now, so he should be able to make it back in time for the team. So it's going to be a lot more defensive here. Now, the most worrying thing for me coming out from the Grizzlies setup is that Spirit is on the Tracer. Now, like, doesn't have the greatest Tracer, right? Definitely, if you have to pick between the two, Zapri's the one that's going to go on it. He hasn't looked comfortable at all, but Zapri is already looking comfortable on that Widowmaker. Blase has fallen.
And that's part of their win condition, right? You get the early pickoff, you make the Legion wait. The Legion were ready to go in, but you lose your Sombra. Now you have to wait. In fact, Blase doesn't like what he sees. He's just going to the Genji.
Yeah, you might as well. You can't really try and contest that there. You just need the speed. You need the all-out dive. And so that's what they're going to try and do. Corey's going to get onto the point. Someone's going to turn around, and as soon as they do, that's when the rest of the Legion jump on in.
Corey moving in, and he's going to draw some here. Spirit and Spirit takes him out. Gets Zenyatta support to make it happen. Corey had a lack of respect for Spirit there and was punished in turn. The rest of the Legion still trying to make it happen, but you're down to flanking DPS. You are down a tank, and now you just have to back out. It's just not going to happen. The Legion push back once more.
Yeah, all the orbs were there for Spirit, right? He had the Orb of Harmony on him. The Orb of Discord was on Corey. 20 times out of 21, like, you should win that fight. There should be no excuse for that. So yeah, Spirit is able to walk away the victor with that. Zapri, though, able to lay out the damage. We'll have the recon sight up. So the Legion, they are spotted out. They've got to be careful making this approach now.
Well, World already gets chunked down early on, at risk of just getting taken down by anything and everything. Panker under heavy assault. Tons of poke damage go against the Legion here. They don't get anything for it. Panker ends up falling while trying to chase something that wasn't there. And the Grizzlies continue a miraculous hold. 2 minutes and 15 seconds left.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they actually committed the Valkyrie into that Didahun. And so I don't think they needed it because Panker was already so low when he already dove in. They could have completed out the fight from the Grizzlies side without actually committing that. So the Legion were able to actually get something out of it anyhow.
Legion gonna invest even heavier here. Transcendence out, Panker going to receive it. The Legion, breaking through! The pulse bomb from Corey connects 3. The Grizzlies unable to retreat in time, and that is the turnabout. The Legion was so desperate, 4, they're gonna march on through. The army has defeated the Bears on point A.
I wish there was more for me to say at that point, but it's just Corey coming in with a 3-man pulse bomb. Everyone's cornered. It was the Legion doing a good job of just keeping them all, cornered there with the dive. And so now they've got 5 minutes and 30 seconds, and all they need is a third. Really, Panker can just go in with the Primal Rage and make sure no one's on the point. Gods can zone out with a self-destruct. Oh, they might even catch on Zapri.
Blam has a goal here. Don't die before Transcendence. It's all you need to do in this situation. Stay alive, get your Transcendence up. 97%. Blase's down. Pog was able to chase him down, but Panker's doing work in the back. Now, you're down 2. Blam is looking more of a delay in the Transcendence where he just has to transcend, throw himself on the point, but you're not likely to get support for kills while this is going on. Grizzlies, Respawn's coming back in, the Legion still holding on, and God's not quite demeched, was able to get out, but look at Graceful, sets a self-destruct to the back, doesn't connect, but pushes the Legion back. It gets rid of Gods out of the pack, and the Legion might be getting dragged into a fight they can't really win here. They're going back and forth, but the Respawn advantage with the Grizzlies, even as Blase cuts on through, they almost get one tech. Oh, he's not able to get back to the point in time, and it's enough for the Legion as they take Horizon.
We saw a lot of kind of tank focus. Obviously, we need to see that. That's what the only kind of prescription for a win was. But it seemed that some of it was over-focusing on those tanks for the Legion. What do you guys talk about that a little bit?
I mean, that definitely did open up the window. The continual focus onto Panker, that meant that Corey was able to just have free reign, right? He's able to make all these different approaches, which isn't normally checked. Like, I believe he just walked up the stairs from the right-hand side while Panker and everyone and Gods just jumped up onto the high ground from the ledge. And so that's what set up Corey's excellent 3-man pulse bomb.
Well, the other thing, too, is that it's also, there's always a back and forth between tanks and the people trying to kill said tanks, and the Legion adapted, right? Sure, you have the play here, Corey comes in and kills 3, but the pressure was forcing the defense here back. But more to the tank note is that you saw that Gods of Pank were more willing to retreat earlier, so if you've put everything into focusing the tank and they're already backing out and not being as aggressive as normal, they've sort of tilted the terms of the engagement, and that's sort of the adjustment we saw between Game 1 on Nepal and Game 3 at Horizon, where you'd see Gods just getting dove on heavily, but still fine because he backed out in time to get healed by his Mercy.
All right, we've got some replay, and it is going to be Blase just not really giving anybody a break. I don't remember what the last count was, but it was something like 13 and 17 kills, like 13 tires, 17 kills.
On Hollywood, it was like 9 tires and 13 eliminations.
Yeah,
so he was averaging more than 1 elimination per tire.
And then bear in mind, that was not the entire map. That was literally most of that just on first point with a little bit on last, because he would swap off on second point.
Yeah.
So the points where he was running Junkrat, he was getting phenomenal value out of it.
Yeah, especially because he was, first off, he was getting the tires so oppressively fast to begin with. But then on top of that, you see him, he's not ever using a tire just to zone. Like every single time he launched a tire, he was getting 1+ kills.
Yeah. I mean, I like his approach to it because, like ZP had said during the match, that he would use it early on. He's not using it to counter-engage on a fight or to try and swing back a lost fight. He's just starting it off early, and he's waiting until the maximum cast time, so he's getting the ultimate value off of it, and then he would even ultimately get at least 1 or 2. For the most part, it looked like it was Blam and Pag who were constantly going down to those tires, and so he was able to find those positions time and again.
And poor Dahoon. Okay, all right, we are heading into Junkertown next. This is, I mean, hello, it's you know, Junkrat's hometown, so we'll see if we see him again. I want to talk a little bit about the mechanical skill level between Spirit and Zapri, because they both run Tracer. We both see them playing kind of similar play styles and like as far as aggression and when they back off and that kind of thing. Mechanically, just talking about mechanical skill, who do you see as the stronger player between the two?
Easiest question of the night. Zapri is outright better. I mean, pure and simple. Spirit actually showed a resurgence where, again, there was a moment back in time, if you go in the Overwatch lore, where Spirit used to be quite good, and he showed flashes of that in earlier Contenders games, but today has not really been that. It's gone back to the hit or miss Spirit, and Zapri has been far more consistent.
Yeah, Spirit definitely did look uncomfortable, especially there on Horizon. There were some really weird approaches where he was getting checked in situations where he shouldn't have, where he should have just gotten a free Diva mech. Instead, he was missing some of his shots, which you shouldn't as a Tracer, where you just hold down on the mouse 1 button. But yeah, we'll see if they actually put him back onto it, but instead, it's going to be over to the Hanzo. It's a double sniper solo support composition coming out from the Grizzlies here, so we load on to Junkertown.
Grizzlies trying to stay alive within the series itself, of course. A lot at stake within the series for them, as Legion are just trying to confirm a #1 seed. Zapri coming around the left side, looking for a pickoff, going to be working towards the left, and ooh, Spirit connects. Blase out of it. The Junkrat tire are not going to be a threat here early on. And this is good for the Grizzlies, just a good solid pickoff as they continue the push and payload.
Yeah, eventually they were able to force Spirit out of the way to where he couldn't cover the res anymore. So Blase is back into this. It's a full 6v6. As I say that though, Corey is able to get the heads up against Zapri, but in the meantime, the Grizzlies are battling right on back, and so now they're pushing forward. Spirit getting a lot of damage off. They might actually get Panker down. He's down to about 50 HP. Gods has respawned back into this, so it's gonna be a while before he can get back with this Diva. Corey gets hooked in, and he falls.
And the Grizzlies, off of that early pickoff where they got Blase down to begin with, just able to snowball that in their favor, as often is the case with double sniper comp. However, the Legion, they get a chance to re-establish here, and they also have a tire, but Spirit got Rolf! This gives them more room to work with.
Yeah, the scatter arrows have been working out for Spirit so far now. Not the wall climb, though.
I mean, he just lost his wall climb mojo after Roadhog learned the wall climb. It's been all downhill from there. You transfer from one to the other, and that's just where it is. And what I would look here is that the Legions are taking a long time here, and how Blase starts us out, you gotta think that you're gonna see the tire here in just a moment, right? Where they try and throw out the tire, and there it is. It's an early tire coming out from Blase, and he has a lot of faith in just being able to weave in such a way that he's gonna get, but this is highly aggressive even for his standards. Almost gets scatter arrowed, and down it goes. too early on the tire, and that's big for the Grizzlies.
That is big. Here comes out the dive. Zapri gets dove upon, but he will be able to back away now with that grappling hook. But Corey is there. Luckily for Zapri, he's got the pocket, but everyone is just trying to focus him down. You saw the Junkrat trying to shoot those grenades at him.
Zapri under pressure in the back, and the Grizzlies still pushing through the front, and Rolf gets caught. The self-destruct whole hog doing its work on the front lines. And the Legion, if they're going to take this, they need to commit now, but they've just lost too many people here. It's going to be very difficult to establish yourself on the point, and the double sniper setup of the Grizzlies continues to do its work.
Yeah, Pooks goes head first into that arrow. As Spirit has been putting in a lot of work with this Hanzo so far. The double sniper composition really paying off for the Grizzlies, because once again, when you're worried about one threat, that leaves the other one still alive, but it's not even just the one threat. There were three, right? Blam is also on the Roadhog, so there are so many one-shot potentials coming out from this team. Now he will swap off. They're going to try and go a bit more standard, slowly make the transition instead of making a lot of wholesale changes to the squad.
And this next fight's still going to be pretty difficult for them. They only have the Supercharger, and they have a lot to actually worry about. They drop the Supercharger immediately. They try and hide behind their reset, keep it as a counter dive, but Supercharger going the fall, the Legion going in, but they don't want to overdive here. In fact, the Grizzlies disengage from that Transcendence very, very well. Now they can come back into the fight, and this is good for them. The problem is that Peg got caught on the outskirts. Corey now looking to finish off the Diva. Down he goes, and the Legion should be able to get control of this.
And this is something we talked about at the top, right? Where they do have to swap Graceful and Pog depending upon what they want to play, right? If they want to play the Orisa, it's going to be Graceful that goes on to it. And if they want to play the Winston, it's Pog. So now they are making that swap off once again. Pog definitely not looking as comfortable as Graceful does on that Diva. It's a lot of changes coming out from the Grizzlies as Spirit also picks up the Genji.
All right, the Legion holding on defense after getting rocked through first and second here. The Grizzlies looking for the way in. They have a Valkyrie in reserve early in this fight. They try and focus down Panker, but you see Panker able to back out and get topped off. Now the focus goes on the Gods, but he doesn't care. He throws a self-destruct up into the air. Does he get back in time? No, he doesn't. Graceful hunted him down in and of the moment, but he pays a price. He loses Diva back at the same time as Panker and Corey go so deep into the back. The Grizzlies fighting tooth and nail, though, as this goes on. This is going to force Blase to consider, I've lost a bunch of people that brought Blam back into the fight. Do I pull out the blade here or do I wait? And the answer is, might as well wait.
Rolf very nearly winning the duel up against Pag. Pag surviving with about 50 HP. If Rolf was able to just land one more headshot orb onto him, this could be a completely different story, but now that does allow the Grizzlies to push forward this payload. Now they're just around the bend. Now the Legion have regrouped. There's a full 6-man. Zapri already falling back because Blase is trying to get in, and he's got the blade.
Blase holding onto that blade, but you know what, he doesn't have health. Rolf unable to transcend on him in time. It was a split second too late to save either Panker or Blase. Zapri's headshot just bursted Panker down well beyond the thresholds they were expecting. And the Grizzlies now making their case. 3 minutes left and not much further to go.
Lamb also used his Transcendence. He did fall. Spirit is the one that gets res back into this, and they want that forward pressure, right? But here we go. Blade comes out from Blase, but he is forced back. Never mind. He's right on top of Zapri. Takes him out.
Got rid of the threat, but by the way, Spirit has Blade on the other end. The payload's still in danger as the Grizzlies are keeping up the pressure. Now, the Legion did buy themselves a little bit of room after killing Zapri, and Blase, not accounted for in the back, picks up another one, and that's probably going to be enough to give the Legion time to recover, even as Blase gets picked off.
There are so many staggered positions here. It was really hard to keep track of what was going on. Both teams are trying to put someone in the spawn of the opposing team, but now it looks like the Legion, they are going to be able to just put a full hold to this payload now as Spirit and DeHun fall. So, with 2 minutes left, Legion, they're just a few short meters away from completing out Junkertown.
And, well, for Legion, I mean, there's still 2 minutes left. The Grizzlies have plenty of time for the attack to complete Junkertown, as it were. But that could be a very difficult attack in and of itself, especially when you don't have any ults in reserve.
Yeah, it's going to be Pooks and Panker, the side of the Gladiators, to actually make a difference in the next fight, try and stall it out. Those are the tools that you want. Take a look. They're already dropping down low as Spirit was able to take off Blase.
Blase's down, and Graceful is still in his mech. He was able to disengage just in time. So look at Blam under so much pressure and stays alive. Well, not anymore. Panker fishing off. Still, Graceful is able to heal back up. It's not the worst for the Grizzlies in this moment. They're still putting on pressure. They force Rolf to use the Transcendence, and yet it's Panker being more of his normal self, working the outskirts, getting kills. Under assault by Spirit here, looking to finish that off. Panker falls, Spirit cleaving his way back onto the point. Is he gonna get Lucio? He does with the help of Graceful. but it's Blase, a blade out back the other way. Respawn's coming in for the Legion. It is so back and forth on this point right now.
Oh, Graceful tries to go for the self-destruct. The Transcendence was not there in time to keep him alive. But now here's the counter self-destruct coming out from Gods. Doesn't get anything, he will be able to get back into his mech, but now as Blam, his Transcendence fizzles away, he is gonna get picked off. And so Grizzlies, they committed a lot of ultimates into that last fight, even though there's only 50 seconds left now.
Well, that was their fight to win there, where they had a decent opening. They were able to build up in the middle of the through. Now, the path through is, well, rather grim indeed. 40 seconds left to win.
Yeah, they're gonna try and run through this small choke. And that's what Corey's looking for. He's got the pulse bomb. He's already on the high ground. He's waiting for their approach to try and spot out where they're going to be coming from. He's got the high ground control as he tries to contest up against Pog right now. Pulse bomb comes in, it's stuck, but the sound barrier is there from Dahun.
The barrier is very good in time. It keeps the push alive for the Grizzlies, but you see Graceful still under assault. Meanwhile, Pinker back the other way, just cleaning house in the back. Blam already out of the fight, and Zapri had nowhere to go. Discord orbs and a monkey in your face. Goodbye. The Legion continue to keep control here in the point, and the Grizzlies approach just too discombobulated. Time is going to run out, and the Grizzlies going to get held right here in Jungle Town.
This is like very nearly the same case as when we were on Hollywood earlier, where the Legion thought they had the Grizzlies thought they had a one fight. They kept throwing ultimates at it, and the Legion were able to just hold. And they just ran out of steam once again, one fight too early. If the Grizzlies maybe had held on to Spirit's Blade for another full 6v6 fight, because in that fight, Pooks and Rolf, they had actually used both of their support ultimates. It feels like Grizzlies are just pulling the trigger way too quickly in a lot of these engagements.
Well, the Grizzlies oftentimes were just 1 or 2 kills for having a clean fight, but we've been seeing in Overwatch, particularly as time goes on and teams get better, that it's not just about getting a pick-off or 2 here, it's getting that full, clean 5-6 kills. And even though this isn't an assault map, Legion at the very end, because of how close their spawn was, they were sort of able to turn it into that sort of scenario where anything less than full domination wasn't going to be enough to get the payload to its final destination.
Luckily for the Grizzlies, though, they did get it pretty far, 98.18 meters after second. And so we see a lot of teams get gummed up, particularly there on third, even sometimes before that bend on third. We'll see if the Grizzlies can hold. Right now, they're for the defensive end. They've already got Pog on the, the Roadhog, while Graceful is picking up the Theresa. And there it is, Spirit and Zapri. We've got the Junkrat along with the Widowmaker out for them.
All right, well, Legion going to be on the attack, and oh my word. I know that they feel pretty good about their standing, but are they going to make our dreams come true? Blase, I know this probably isn't going to be how you approach it, but you could be a hero right now. You could channel your inner Mangachu.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I only have space enough in my heart for Mangachu, so Blase already understands that. He's going to swap off now. It's just a solo support coming out from the Legion, but they are running the Junkrat Widowmaker just like the Grizzlies are. Actually, mirrored compositions.
Well, the one difference between the two is that compared to the first attack, you're not going to be seeing the Hanzo come out here for the Legion. Instead, they're just like, we actually have more faith in Junkrat. And part of what they get here is that they get less pickoff power, but they get the consistency that, hey, you're going to get a tire at some point. You can use the tire to get pickoff, and so far the Grizzlies have been bad about dealing with it. Meanwhile, Corey just going to sit here to the right, knows where Zapri usually is, and gets him!
Wow.
Zapri unable to win the Widow duel, and that's huge for the Legion as they move forward. And oh my goodness, he's going to get the Junkrat too. Junkrat has an orb, and Spirit finishes it off, and they were also able to bring up Zapri, so it's not the opening you'd like, but Dahun got punished! He was mid-res, he got caught by the Halt Hook combo, Corey's back in the fray, and the Legion continue to push.
They didn't follow up on Pinker. Pinker was down to about 100 HP. The Grizzlies got any damage across. They could have swung this back in their favor, but now that Theresa, she is there on the front lines, fully healed up. We'll have her cooldowns back up, and so it looks like Grizzlies are just going to go ahead and give away point A.
And this is a tough situation where sometimes, do you go for the final fight? I like the fact that the Grizzlies didn't try and do that, because usually that's a women of prayer that makes defending second far more difficult. But oh my word, Zapri picked off again. If the Grizzlies want to have any hope here, Zapri must start taking these Widow duels. And yeah, you can get res back up, but look at that, Blase was trying to get Dahun. Dahun just barely able to get away.
Yep, Dahun will get away. And Zapri, yeah, you're right. He hasn't been able to actually win out these duels. It was going back and forth, but now more in favor of Corey. The Riptire comes out, Spirit does connect onto Pooks. That will slow down the Legion for now.
Well, Blase has about to have a zone under pressure from D.Va, 0 HP and gone. Meanwhile, Corey's uncontested. got Blam, gonna be looking for Zapri, has to be aware of the recon side as this goes on, but all the while, the Legion are keeping consistent pressure on the payload even after early picks. God's 40 HP, Pigs flying, and God's able to stay alive. Healed up throughout all of it here. And now, he's able to get Graceful. They don't pick off Gods, and it's turned so against the Grizzlies. Oh my word. This could turn out quite bad indeed as you see the tower back the other way. Immersing in sights, boom! Zapri and Hun both out of it, and that's huge for the Legion.
That should not be happening because it's the Legion that are running the D.Va. And usually when there's a Roadhog and there's a D.Va on the opposite end, any hook that comes out, they shouldn't be able to survive. The Legion don't have a D.Va themselves. God should be focused down and he should be out of these fights, but somehow he's surviving every single hook he takes. Now here comes a Riptire coming out from Spirit.
He's probably using it this early because he wants to swap. He just wants to see if he can get anything from it, which right now is looking like no. That was a very confused and or courteous Tire. So he just wanted to use the early Tire, see if he got something. Legion going to just mow their way through the Grizzlies here. And wouldn't be surprised to see Spirit swap, but although, hang on, they're coming back the other way. No Tire kill. Got Blase. Corey working on the outskirts, can't finish off the Zen. So even though they're in the position of maybe just finishing this out, the Grizzlies got a pick or two and make this more of a contest. Now the Legion, they're coming back in the other side, but now, on a hope and a prayer, they might have kept this open. And because Spirit is 62%, he might not switch off the Junkrat.
Yeah, they are forcing back Blase so far. Corey not able to win out these duels. Now he's at 6 HP, will get taken out by Zapri. But yeah, Corey just took way too long trying to convert on Blam. You saw, out of frustration, he throws out the pulse bomb. And at that point, when the Zen's not even out of the fight, what are you doing as that Tracer? You either need to swap off into a different target or make sure you get that kill. Now the dive comes in, but it's caught by the Legion, and so Pag and Zapri have fallen.
Well, they default early, but they did force a Transcendence out of rules, so Legion do have to expend a few resources to deal with that dive as it moved in. Corey has been getting just wrecked over and over again, the Tracer, in the last few runs. This is why the Legion haven't had the pressure they would normally have in this situation. We'll say, having to do a little bit more. The self-destruct in his face gets out just in time, and here comes the Tire when you really want to bow on through. Oh, he just used to get Spirit in the back, who's diving in, but he dove into Zapri. They still got Blase, and the Legion having to fight tooth and nail for every little bit of progress they get here.
Yep, Graceful will get demeched, but Pinker is low. Corey ultimately will be there to help him clean up, and so now the Legion, they'll move forward onto third with 3.5 minutes left. Now remember, the Grizzlies didn't finish off this map, and so the Legion could just outright win this. They just push it there. Corey tries to go in for the pulse bomb, did not connect. On the Grizzlies side, Zapri has now swapped back off onto the Widowmaker.
Well, the other big swap here that's important to note is that Spirit is on the Genji now, no longer on the Junkrat. He's probably going to swap a little bit earlier, but now Blade comes out looking for anything, ends up getting chunked instead and pushed back. Spirit gets Corey though, so it's not a complete waste in this moment. The Legion giving a little bit of pause.
Yep. That was another great attempt out from the Legion to try and shut down Spirit's Blade. We saw as he went in for it, God goes in with the booster, kind of dislodges him, leaves him a little bit disheveled, but he was ultimately able to get that pick off. And so now the Grizzlies, they're able to stabilize just a bit, but as I say that, Spirit gets traded away.
Corey got bopped again early on, Graceful on control. The problem for the Grizzlies is that they lost Spirit as well. Zapri has to push a little bit further back, looking for pickoffs here, doesn't really care too much about the Transcendence. Nice headshot onto D.Va. The Grizzlies having this iron hold here, making it very difficult for the Legion to get through, and Zapri connects on Wolf this time, able to get him as he came back through the corner. Corey, meanwhile, fighting Graceful once more, who has been in his face repeatedly, over and over again, and Spirit gets his revenge. Got Blase on the other side as Corey is just off getting a breather.
Yeah, this is a great defensive hold coming out from the Grizzlies because they're fighting so far forward, right? They're not giving the Legion an opportunity to really spot out where Zapri is. So Zapri is just here on the high ground while everyone else is fighting right at that choke. And you see that Zapri is just spamming away with that Widowmaker now. He's got that infra side up, so the Legion are just going to try and wait this out. There we go, Corey's in the back, but he spotted out.
Meanwhile, oh, both down the Gods, the self-destruct, exactly what they needed to get through this closed-in choke point. Spirit had no more hope after two went down in the back behind them, and the Legion, off of the self-destruct gambit by Gods, will be able to get through this choke point of doom. A minute 30 left remaining.
And the Legion, they have so many tools. Rolf almost got his Transcendence up, so now this is where they just want to put the coup de grace onto the Grizzlies. They want that 3-1 victory. They want to walk away and put themselves in contention for the first place spot up against Toronto now. It's coming down to the last minute and 10 seconds here. Blam has to be careful with that Transcendence as Blase is looking for that blade.
Oh, here comes the blade from Spirit. Will there be redemption or will there be sadness? Blam down really early in this fight in Spirit. Well, it's going to be sadness. Panker chases him down. The blade does not matter. But if you're into blades that matter, with 3 kills, Blase could have a finishing blade. The Legion so close to the final box of victory. Here comes the blade. 2 go down. Blase slashing his way in for the Legion. Finishes off Spirit for good measure. And that's going to be the Legion taking the series and firmly knocking the Grizzlies out of contention.
Congratulations to the Gladiators. Well played. We saw the Grizzlies had a path to victory there, kind of, especially in round 1, right before they lost third point. Ultimately, what happened? Because they had the ultimate advantage, they had respawn advantage. What went wrong?
Well, what went wrong for the Grizzlies more than anything else is that I do think it was a very rough series for Spirit, where anytime you were looking, it's like, okay, is there going to be a huge play? It didn't really happen for them. They actually had very good control on last point Junkertown, where the Legion had to work very, very hard to get on through. I also think that as soon as Corey got off to Widowmaker, it gave Zapri room to work with, where Zapri's Widow v Widow game wasn't really on point, but as soon as Corey said, all right, we're going last point, I'll go Tracer, that opened up Zapri to do really well for the Grizzlies in the moment.
Yeah, after Nepal, that's where it looked like Spirit just really came out of his comfort zone. When he was on that Reaper, surprise, surprise, he looked good and he looked comfortable on it. But once we tried to get him onto Genji, get back onto Tracer, it just did not work for them. And ultimately, when you're having, like I said, throughout the entire series, just a real back and forth between Corey and Zapper, you need Spirit to be the tipping point. And on the opposite end, that was Blase. He was the one that just pushed it over the edge for the Legion.
Yeah, I think 21 times is what we finally was the final count for that. All right, so this is pretty much secured now. Gladiators going into playoffs. Who do you see them having the hardest time with?
Well, I think everyone from Group B is a killer to a degree. I would say that very arguably, if you compare the skill levels between the two groups, Group A had more teams that were less well-rounded than Group B. So even if you get a high seed, the number 1 or number 2 seed here from Group A, there is upset potential from the top 4 of Group B to be sure. And I mean, we'll see how Group B turns out, because Group B is kind of all on its head right now, and lots going to be decided in the final week. But so Legion, they can feel good that they've qualified, but playoff week is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, luckily for them, they're almost basically out of reach of having to face off against Fusion University. So that's a great thing to try and avoid going into the first week of playoffs.
All right, we have our Old Spice player of the match footage up, and no surprise, it's going to Blase and his, I mean, this is him on Genji, but I mean, really, you could have just pulled any footage from Blase from this series, and it would have been a great replay.
It's like, here is Genji, but perhaps more well-known for Junkrat over the course of it, and for the most part, it wasn't like it was the most explosive Junkrat play. It was just consistent. It was consistency coming out from his tires, his contribution. Where you didn't have the huge like 4 kill tires as a regular thing, but you don't need that. If you get a 1 with the tire, oftentimes that's enough to buy 30, 40 seconds, and it's one team fight in and of itself.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Once again, when you're comparing Blase over to Spirit, even though like they did overlap in most of their hero pools, right? There was Genjis and Junkrats being played. It was Blase time and again who was performing on it much better than Spirit, especially on the Genji. Even though Spirit had a lot more time on the Genji, Blase had a lot more impact with it too.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to, I think. It's not even necessarily who's better at what position. It's who's capable of creating the most impact within the game. The next match that we have coming up between LNL and XL2, there's been a lot of kind of movement within XL2. We finally got to see Flower come out. Let's talk a little bit about this match that we're about to start getting into.
Well, XL2, on paper, should be able to win. They had a rough outing when they first